I believe the sun revolves around the earth.
I took 3 deep breaths today. 3!
What happened?
Someone genuinely claimed that the sun revolves around the earth, and everyone nodded.
And you?
Took 3 deep breaths.
If you're intelligent, truly intelligent, you know this feeling. That quiet, exhausted blink when someone says something so obviously wrong that you briefly wonder if you're dreaming. Most people call it frustration. Psychology calls it something else. And by the end of this video, you'll understand what's really going on inside you and why the way you handle it says far more about you than it does about them. This isn't about who's smarter. It's about a psychological mechanism that shows up in highly intelligent people almost every time. And that, if you don't know it, leads to quiet exhaustion, to loneliness, and sometimes to an arrogance you don't even notice in yourself. Wait, are we talking about me right now? We're talking about everyone who recognizes themselves in this video. Chapter 1. The Silent Pain of Intelligence. Intelligence isn't a pure gift. A brain that thinks faster, connects more, and analyzes deeper automatically lives in a world that's different from most people's. And that creates a very specific kind of loneliness.
Loneliness? I'm not lonely. I have friends.
Loneliness doesn't mean being alone. It means not being truly understood. Researchers call it cognitive isolation, the feeling of always being a few steps ahead in conversations, seeing connections others don't see, and at the same time, not knowing how to communicate that without coming across as arrogant.
I know that feeling. I usually just say nothing.
Exactly. And that silence has a price. Anyone who constantly holds back, filters their thoughts, adapts, burns through enormous mental energy, not for thinking, for not saying.
I always thought that was just my problem.
It is your problem, just not in the way you think. Chapter 2. The explainer reflex, and why it almost always fails. The explainer reflex. That's the impulse, when someone says something wrong, to correct it. In detail, with examples, with patience, at least at first.
That's a good thing, right? You're helping?
You're trying to help, but intelligent people often assume others don't understand because they don't have the right information yet. So they give more information, better explanations, clearer examples, and it still doesn't work.
Why not?
Because not understanding often isn't about missing information. It's about different cognitive styles, different priorities, different worldviews. Psychologists call it the curse of knowledge. Once you know something, it's nearly impossible to imagine not knowing it. And that's why smart people systematically underestimate how wide the gap really is. Long term, this leads to something more dangerous than frustration, quiet contempt, not malicious, but creeping, the feeling that the others simply don't want to get it. And that's the moment intelligence becomes a trap.
Because you stop seeing the others as equals?
Exactly. And that's a problem, not for them, for you. Chapter 3. The Superiority Trap. Highly intelligent people develop, often without noticing, a sense of cognitive superiority, not out of malice, but as a natural consequence of genuinely thinking faster, knowing more, analyzing better in many situations. The brain draws a conclusion. I'm better. And that conclusion is wrong.
But if you actually do think better,
Thinking better in certain areas is not the same as being a better person. Psychologists call it the Intelligence Superiority Bias, the tendency to equate cognitive ability with human worth. Anyone who sees others as cognitively inferior loses the capacity for genuine empathy, not because they lack compassion, but because they've stopped truly listening.
Because you already know what the others are going to say?
Because you think you know. The bitter irony, the more someone believes they see through others, the less they actually understand them.
That's hitting me harder than I want to admit right now.
That's a good sign. Chapter 4. The Emotional Price. Dealing with people who think differently costs energy. That's not a weakness. That's neurology. Every time a highly intelligent person filters their reaction, swallows their frustration, or simply stays quiet, they're running their prefrontal cortex at full capacity.
Is that why I'm so exhausted after some conversations?
Exactly. Researchers call it cognitive load, the mental strain of simultaneously thinking, filtering, and navigating social dynamics. Long-term, this leads to intellectual loneliness, not the absence of people, but the absence of conversations that actually challenge you.
Sometimes I feel like I have to deliberately dumb myself down in conversations.
That's called downplaying, one of the most common strategies highly intelligent people use to secure social acceptance. It works, but it has a price. You lose a little bit of yourself every time.
That's a very good question.
Chapter 5. What stupid actually means and what it doesn't. What do we actually mean when we call someone stupid? Usually, this person doesn't think like me, but that's not a definition of stupidity. That's a definition of difference.
But there is such a thing as real stupidity. People who just don't think.
There are people who reflect less, who believe misinformation, who are less competent in certain areas. But stupid, as a global trait of a person, that doesn't hold up to reality. Psychologists distinguish between analytical, emotional, practical, creative, and social intelligence. Someone who seems slow in a debate can be brilliant in social situations.
So nobody is actually stupid?
Anyone who labels someone as stupid across the board is really saying one thing: I've stopped truly seeing this person. Chapter 6. What psychology actually recommends. So, what do? Psychology gives a clear answer, and it's not what most people expect. Not explain better, not avoid stupid people, but shift your perspective.
That sounds like a motivational poster.
It sounds simple. It isn't. Researchers call it mentalizing, the ability to step into another person's mental world. And here's the paradox. Highly intelligent people are often worse at this than average, not because they have less empathy, but because their brain reaches conclusions so fast that it skips the step of actually listening.
We think too fast to actually listen?
The fast brain is also the impatient brain, and impatience is the enemy of understanding. Smart handling doesn't start with better explanations. It starts with one single question. What am I not seeing right now?
That's actually really hard.
The best things usually are. Chapter 7. When intelligence actually helps, and when it doesn't. Here's the question almost nobody asks. When is intelligence actually an advantage, and when does it become a problem?
Well, always an advantage, right?
Wrong. Studies show that highly intelligent people perform worse than average in certain social situations, not because they know less, but because they apply their knowledge the wrong way. They argue when listening is what's needed. They analyze when empathy is what's needed. They explain when silence is what's needed.
So, intelligence can sometimes be too much?
Not too much. Misapplied. A hammer isn't a bad tool, but it won't help you tighten a screw. Intelligence is the same. It's powerful, but it needs the right moment. And recognizing the right moment doesn't come from thinking more, it comes from perceiving more.
Perceiving instead of thinking?
Exactly. Research calls it situational intelligence, the ability to recognize what kind of response a situation actually needs. Not the smartest answer, the right one. And that's a skill you can train. But, and this is key, it only grows when you stop believing that your own perspective is automatically the correct one.
So, less needing to be right? More listening?
You learn fast, when you want to. Chapter 8. What this really says about you. If you've watched this video all the way through, if you recognized yourself in any of these chapters, that says something specific about you. Not that you're arrogant, not that you have a problem, but that you have a brain that never stops working, that analyzes, that can't stop thinking.
That sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting.
But the question isn't, how do I become less intelligent? The question is, how do I learn to live with this intelligence without turning it against myself or others? The most intelligent people aren't the ones who think the fastest. They're the ones who handle uncertainty, difference, and complexity the best.
I think I still have a lot to learn.
We all do. That, by the way, is also a sign of intelligence. Being intelligent doesn't mean having the answers. It means asking the right questions, including about yourself.
Do you ever get frustrated with me?
3 times a day. Deep breaths.
Respect.
Do you recognize yourself in any of these chapters? Write it in the comments and tell us which one hits you the hardest.